Alright, about my 63rd attempt at making a video for the quarantine car show because, well, I'm all excited about this stuff. I don't know how to talk or think or do anything else. So, but I'm trying. Anyways, this is for Rich at deboss, love you man, and Peg, my two favorite Canadians right there. Possibly even my long lost relatives, because my great grandparents migrated from Canada down here to Maine. Anyways, I got a 1999 C3500hd factory two-wheel drive truck, 10 1/4, 10 lug, 19 1/2s, big frame, big suspension, leaf springs in the front from the factory, all that jazz. But I bought this 6 years ago in Montana. Drove it 3,000 miles home to Maine. Along the way, I had seen a Craigslist ad, that friggin' Craigslist, I'm always looking on it, it's getting me in trouble. But I had seen an ad on Craigslist for the Monroe parts to make this truck four-wheel drive. This guy was parting out a 95 version of one of these and had the solid front axle and the transfer case and the drive shafts. And he wouldn't sell all that stuff without the rear axle, so I had to buy the rear axle too. So of course I paid too much, but when you need these parts, you gotta buy them when you see them. So on the way home from Montana, we threw that on the back, because this truck was a flatbed when I bought it. So threw all that crap on the back, kept on trucking back home to Maine, me and the wife. Had a nice trip through the Badlands, Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, all that stuff. It's a good time. As soon as I got at home, I started tearing this truck apart in the garage. Me and my buddies. A lot of beer, a lot of welding, grinding, cutting, and a lot more beer. And we took that, it was a I-beam front axle, and we hauled that thing out of there. Started getting this solid front axle ready. Here's the Dana 70 front, 10 lug. The big diff, bigger axle tubes, big fat beefy inner C's. You can see there's hardly any room for them friggin' axle shafts, but it was a spring under setup, the truck that it came from. You can still see the old perch there, but we bought some new perches and made it a spring over, because spring under is for sissies. And those might look small, but it's actually 1/4 inch steel perches. Bought those off an off-road company, as well as these high steer arms, because I didn't need that factory steering setup, being as low as it was underneath the springs. I was guaranteed to bounce those things off a stump, bend the hell out of them. So my buddy, who did all the welding on this thing, he TIG welded some drag links for me. New Pitman arm, all new tie rod ends, new drag links, added some DOM tubing. Here's my stabilizer. Here's a, we had to cut the bottom half of the engine cross member off to get it to clear the axle, so it could travel up and down. Just cut the bottom half of that cross member off and plated it on the bottom, closed it back in. And yeah, there's the other side, the other high steer arm. Been great. Some free running boards we took off of 80 Chevy. Bolted them things up. Fit freaking perfect. Meat. Here's the frame. It's 5/16 inch thick, way thicker than any other 90 Chevy that you're gonna find, on the pickup line. That's why this is an HD. There's no HDs in the 90s except for this one. The regular 2500s and 3500s, those are all just, there's no HDs in them. Of course, they had this HD and the big frame, and this is a doubler in the middle to help out with all that extra weight. You see it starts in the middle of the cab, ends right there in front of the spring hanger. Big beefy leaves. These things whole truck, the setup's pretty awesome. I've taken 3 or 4 yards and seen this truck sag less than a brand new F450 or 550. So that's kind of why I wanted it. I wanted a Chevy. I'm a Chevy guy till I die. Sorry, Peg, I know you're a Ford guy, but hopefully we can still be friends. But I'm Chevy, you know, through and true. And I wanted a Chevy that could really take some abuse. You know, like I said, I want to put weight in the back. I don't want to see that thing sagging down. So I didn't want a 3500 regular truck, especially not with an IFS. So if I'm going to get a work truck, it's going to have a solid axle. And because I wanted a Chevy, I knew I had to build it. So here it is. Dana 80 rear. You know, that came with the truck. 10 lug. It's a GM spec Dana 80 rear, not that sissy Dodge Dana 80 with the Dana 70 outers. This is the Dana 80 tubes, Dana 80 outers, big giant discs out back. You know, that's a true Dana 80 right here. These are the lift blocks, because the front went up 6 inches with that solid axle. I had to bring the rear up, and you got 5.5 inch lift blocks, I think. Custom bump stop extensions. That way there, I didn't hyperextend these babies. And I welded those on with a 120 volt MIG. My buddy said it wasn't gonna work, but I hit them suckers with a sledgehammer and they didn't come off. And now 6 years later, and about 400 10,000 pound loads, and they're still on there. Doing good. Oh, I love this truck. And over here we have the transfer case. It's a BorgWarner 4470 with the park brake on the back, because there's no room on the rear axle for any park brake setup, so they put it on the back here. Originally on the 2-wheel drive transmission that came with this truck, the NV4500, as well as the 4L80Es that could have come with these trucks. They all put the park brakes in the back of them. So yeah, here's a transfer case that I got with the rest of the parts from that kid. Damn kid that wanted too much. All these parts. Still cursing his name. Here it is with a, this one has a 1-inch spacer right here. Where's my finger? Right there between the two case halves. This is a 1-inch spacer. I think it's so they can run a wider chain so it doesn't snap. But yeah. There's the NV4500. That was 2-wheel drive, like I said. So we took that all apart. Had to buy a new main shaft for it and some other parts. New output housing so we could mount the transfer case in the back of it. Like so. Yes, that's a piece of AZEK right there that I used as a spacer for, you know, proper angles, drive shaft angles. New rear drive shaft, because that damn kid sold me some garbage ass friggin' drive shafts. They were all wobbly and whatever. But yeah, new drive shafts. Custom sway bar setup, sway bar mount, built out of 1/2-inch steel. There's that cross member again that we had to clearance a little bit. Oh, actually it's the track bar that you're seeing that's in front of it. So yeah, all that stuff. Custom track bar brackets, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Just love the beef of this truck. That's why I wanted it, because I knew it would be able to take a licking and keep on ticking. Yeah, what else we got to show you? We got this. Oh, it's got two gas tanks for a total like 48 gallons of diesel. And out back here we got this pinto plate built from scratch. Got a 2-inch receiver, 2.5. Sorry, that's a 2.5-inch receiver. And up top here is a 2-inch receiver. And that upper one is for my winch, for winching this truck out when I get stuck, because I do that too much, and also winching the Bobcat out when I get that stuck, my skid steer, because I do that too much, get stuck with that thing, and winching things onto trailers and everything else. Everybody needs a winch. So yeah, this is all built, this whole thing made out of 1/2-inch steel. ton of reinforcing behind it because I didn't need that thing coming off when I was winching. This dump body bought off a buddy, and we installed that on this truck. So that's really helped me establish my property here. But someday maybe I'll go back to a flatbed. We'll see. Show you some other stuff. Maybe show you the engine. Yes, it's a 6.5. I know a lot of people don't like the 6.5s, but I bought this one with 38,000 miles on it from the fire department. It was a brush truck for a fire department. Always garage. And it's treated me well so far. Pop the hood for you. Yep, typical Chevy hood. Here it is, bone stock Chevy 6.5. The only thing I've done to it is put Bosch Duraterm glow plugs in it, because I think the factory ones were all junk. I think they're original. And ever since I put those Duraterms in it, this thing will start. It could be minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't have to plug this truck in. All you have to do is let the glow plug cycle once, and it will fire up no matter what every time. So you can't beat that. Another thing I had to do, only one time it's let me down. I went on vacation for a week, came back, and some mice had built a nest under the intake there and chewed on all my fuel lines, the rubber returns. And so other than that, the engine's been dead nuts reliable for 6 years. No problems at all. Starts up every time. Here's the grill extension. Oh, that's because the frame is so much taller on these trucks. And I run a plow in this truck. The factory plow harness plug is always losing connection. So I bought a 9-pin RV plug and built my own harness. Built my own plate here. And so that actually runs the plow. And I never lose connection with this thing. We'll start it up for you. Here's the shifter. That's my plow control that's on it. You know, it's a manual and I plow with it. I didn't want to be taking my hand off the shifter or the steering wheel. So I got a joystick control and I mounted it to the shifter. That way there I can just keep on plowing without moving my hands all around. Shift, run the plow, shift, more plow. Show you the little girl firing her up. Red line for a good time. Meet. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, look at it all. Cheeching. Right, Peg? Yep. Well, there it is. I want to say thanks, Peg. Thanks, Rich. Thanks to all the other judges doing this. You're helping a lot of people out, giving them entertainment during this quarantine shit. So, you know, everybody stay safe, have yourself a good time, and keep on keeping on.